one tweet can get Young Thug's probation completely revoked. Like, this is serious. This is like no joke. So we're going to break down the whole process, read through the whole paperwork, and I'm going to share my views on it. Let's get into it.
Hours ago, DA Willis filed a motion to revoke Young Thug's probation.
Willis says the artist, whose real name is Jeffrey Williams, posted a tweet on X yesterday that put the life of a DA investigator and others in danger. This is a screenshot of that tweet from tonight's court filing. In it, Williams wrote, quote, "biggest liar in the DA office."
Captured a tweet last night that included a threat against DA Willis's life. The motion says, quote, "the integrity of this court and the safety of those involved in this prosecution are at stake."
Last October, the rapper was released from jail on a 15-year probation after pleading guilty to some of the charges in the YSL RICO trial.
Oh man, here we go. State's mission to revoke probation. These motherfuckers are delusional. State of Georgia, by and through undersigned counsel, moves this honorable court to immediately revoke the probation of defendant Jeffrey Williams. Defendant has demonstrated blatant disregard for the law, the safety of the witnesses, and the integrity of the judicial proceedings. The state.
Now, real quick, for the people that don't know, this is the start of a process. The filing of a motion is like a 7-step process. You got to like serve the motion. There's an opposition, your responses, hearing and ruling, and there's a finalization before the process even goes through. But it should take weeks to months before this goes through.
He submits the defense continued presence in the community under probationary supervision prevents a clear and present danger to public safety and undermines the rule of law. And I think this is over a tweet where Thug tweeted out a picture of investigator Viverito and said she was a liar, or the biggest liar in the DA or whatever. October 31st, on Halloween, Jeffrey Williams was sentenced to probation with the conditions that include no contact with the victim and the victim's family. Defendant pled guilty and the conditions of probation were imposed pursuant to blah, 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 which authorized courts to establish and enforce conditions necessary to protect the public and uphold the administration of justice. Since sentencing.
Now, to all the people that don't know got common sense, let me just remind y'all, and I'm going to show y'all real quick. It really takes 1 second. Let me show y'all where the judge actually told this man, don't come back.
Had they been able to come to agreement on certain special conditions, was willing to entirely dismiss the RICO count, was willing to entirely dismiss one of the gang counts, and was willing to entirely dismiss this, machine gun count, was willing to give a sentence that permitted Mr. Williams to walk out of the door today, and therefore does not seem to be particularly worried that Mr. Williams, if on the streets, would be a danger to society.
They basically told him, you can't get involved in nothing. And if you get involved, you will be back in this court. So, let's keep it going.
Saying the defendant is engaged in conduct that directly threatens the safety of witnesses and prosecutors, compromises ongoing legal proceedings, and warrants immediate revocation of probation. This is horseshit. Escalating threats and witness intimidation. Investigator Marissa Viverito is currently testifying in a multi-defendant gang murder preliminary hearing. My video yesterday, Goodfellas shit with the murder of those 2 innocent kids, some sad stuff right there, which remains ongoing, is set to reconvene on Monday, April 7th. During this hearing, the court explicitly...
For y'all that don't know, that's the 4PF, the whole RICO situation going on with Lil Baby. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to say that with the Goodfellas situation with their RICO, they're trying to connect Lil Baby. They have his name all through that indictment.
That the witness not be shown on television while testifying. Despite this order, a known blogger deliberately violated the court's directive by posting on social media she doesn't want to be shown on screen. Well, here she is, along with a photograph of investigator Viverito. Who is the known blogger? Is it infamous Sylvia? On Tuesday, April 1st, Jeffrey Williams Thug amplified this act by reposting the image with the caption, "Marissa Viverito is the biggest liar in the DA's office."
So that's the tweet right there that could determine this man going back to jail. Now, do y'all feel like that's a threat, saying, the biggest liar in the DA's office, or does that more so, I think it compromises the integrity, but are we here, is his probation based off integrity, or is it based off of his actions? Because his actions don't got nothing to do with his integrity. His actions got to do with his crimes.
The tweet. This post quickly went viral, amassing over 2 million views with thousands of comments and retweets, many of which included direct threats to investigator Viverito and her family. Thug is not responsible for random strangers on the internet. And I don't recall there ever being a part in his probation where he can't speak his mind about certain people in the police department. Was that a part of his probation? I don't think it was. Direct consequence of these social media posts, Viverito's home address and her parents' home address was publicly posted, exposing them to grave danger. One post stated, if the hate is really real, then pull up on her mama crib, alongside a photograph of their mother's residence.
Oh, so the YNs trying to pull up at the house? So then they the ones that got it. You got to realize, unless he's telling his followers to go and do this, this is not proof that he's initiating this. You know, we in a technology era right now, right? You can grab it, anything you want to grab. You can find out anything. You can look her name up, Google it, and find the info.
That is not Thug's fault, dude. It's a known thing on even YouTube and Twitch. YouTubers and Twitch people and all these people that live stream, they are not responsible for their chat, dude. The internet is the f***ing Wild West right now, especially Twitter. Twitter is a cesspool, chaos, and racism now, dude. Hours later, an additional post emerged threatening the assassination of District Attorney Fani Willis. The escalation from targeting a testifying witness to making a direct death threat against the elected District Attorney of Fulton County is a grave and unprecedented attack on the justice system. Thug didn't make a death threat to Fani Willis. That wasn't him. Why are they acting like that was him? Why did they word that like it was Thug that did that? Like, fuck you. This is not an isolated incident. It is part of a calculated campaign of intimidation, harassment, and misinformation designed to undermine the legal process. Oh, here we go. They're acting like they didn't fuck up the entire YSL trial. The prosecutors are literally known across the entire United States.
He said undermine the trial. I mean, I'm gonna let that. I'm gonna let him go.
With every lawyer on how not to prosecute a case. Literally, it's their fault. Social media has been used as a tool to manipulate public perception, spread misinformation, and instill fear. These efforts have included attempts to exploit the court's perceived stance of disdain toward the state by referring to Your Honor as YSL Whitaker.
But how is the whole point that I'm making is how are you instilling fear? This is a public trial. If that's the case and you can't make it be a public trial, it got to be a private trial. As long as it's a public trial, then people can go online and pull this information up and find out what went on in this situation. I mean,
it was because Judge Glanville was clearly biased for the state, and the state is salty that a judge came in and was actually fair and trying to end the shit show that you put on for 2.5 years or whatever, dude. The absolute shit show of a trial you had for 2 fucking years, where you ended up giving pleas to everyone because you realized you fucked the case up so bad. That's literally what happened. They gave pleas to everyone because they fucked the case up so bad. I'm getting heated. This is pissing me off. This ongoing manipulation of public perception is intended to obstruct justice, silence witnesses, and threaten those who enforce the law. Under OCGA 42.834.1, a court may revoke a defense probation when they engage in new criminal conduct or violations that threaten public safety.
But he's not. See, the thing is, and now that's the part right there that's a little technical, and that kind of go to the law at that point. Is it a threat? His statement? Because if that's the case, anybody that spoke on her, the news is a threat then. Let's say the news is a threat then. The news got to go to jail too. The news got to go to jail. And that means every content creator got to go to jail because it says new criminal conduct for violations that threaten public safety. The public threatened more safety than he did by even posing her address.
Defense continued association with individuals actively involved in witness intimidation, threats of violence, and obstruction of justice constitutes a clear violation of probation conditions. Who is he associated with? Individuals that actively involved in witness intimidation. Yeah. Who are they talking about? Are they talking about the?
And that's what I'm saying. Is there anybody that's in YSL that's involved in the case that's threatening them? Because if that's the case, then that's different. But if that's not, then they reaching.
Fans on Twitter? Or is he hanging out with someone else? What? These actions mirror the established tactics of criminal organization as defined under OCGA, blah, 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 which are designed to instill fear, silence witnesses, and interfere with judicial proceedings. As a direct consequence of these actions, law enforcement resources have been required to provide security in response to escalating threats and intimidation. Georgia courts have consistently upheld the revocation of probation for conduct that endangers witnesses, obstructs justice, or threatens public officials. Failure to act decisively will only encourage further attempts to threaten, harass, and intimidate those involved in this case.
Well, I feel like the people, hold on.
The state asserts that not addressing this matter directly with the defendant would fail to serve as an adequate deterrent given the gravity and escalating nature of these threats. He's not making threats. The gravity and escalating nature of...
And then how did he make a threat? See, the thing about making a threat is it has to be like, this is what I'm going to do. Hey, y'all, make sure y'all do this. You know, I think they got a weak case. These
threats were not Thug from his voice or his Twitter. It is strangers on the internet in the Wild West that Elon Musk created. Furthermore, as both the defendant and this court acknowledged during his plea and sentencing, the defendant wields significant influence over people worldwide, amplifying the potential impact of his actions. need for revocation, the integrity of this court and safety of these involved in prosecution are at stake. Defense probation should be immediately revoked to prevent further harm. Ensure compliance with the law and send a clear message that witness intimidation and threats against public officials will not be tolerated.
But further harm means that harm has already been done. So what harm did Thug cause, and what people did he cause this harm with?
The state urges this court to take swift and decisive action by revoking the defense probation and remaining them in custody without delay. This is horse shit. This is so
You know, I know it's crazy because if you got like somebody that's like white and they're in the RICO charge and they're very vocal in the courts, they never take it as a threat. It happens all the time. You have white celebrities who are involved in RICO cases and situations along these lines, and they say things into the public media. They say it on camera, and they don't get arrested or, you know, their probation revoked, or that's a threat or anything. I think it's a race thing.
Crazy. Over a tweet where he said she was a liar with a picture of her face. Because guess what? Her face is public. Atlanta Police Department at one point posted a picture of her on their Facebook. Her face is public.
Wow.
Everyone knows what her face looks like because of the Facebook, dude. You can just look up her name on Google. It popped up before Thug ever tweeted anything. So it's not like this is a new picture that Thug found. If you look up her name, it's on Google. State of Georgia respectfully requests this court to schedule a hearing to address immediately revoke or modify defense probation as it deems appropriate. Order defense to reimburse the costs incurred by law enforcement for the additional protective measures necessitated by their actions. Hold on. They want Thug to pay for the police officers that are probably sitting out front of her house right now. What happened to Thug's watch that's missing? Where's Thug's property that was seized when clearly it wasn't made by gang money? It was made by music, touring, merch, music streams, not gang money. There was no evidence of any bank records. You impose any further sanctions necessary to safeguard the witnesses, prosecutors, and the integrity of judicial process. Fani Willis, Abati, and Simone Hilton. Oh my God, I fucking hate these.
So what I think is that they're probably bitter because they didn't get them. You know, they bitter. They had to let them go. When you gotta let people go, you know, it's gonna get people mad. It is. It's going to get people mad, and it probably slapped them in the face, and everybody's probably, you know, antagonizing them because they didn't get their case down, and they RICO went down the drain, as, you know, Cuffham said.
Exhibit A. Oh, it was Sylvia. Oh, no. Viverito's testimony footage. So the... this is actually pretty funny. So she was instructed not to show Viverito's face in court, like film it or whatever, but she just put Viverito's face in the thumbnail.
Oh my God. And that's the same
picture.
person. Yeah.
She's holding up an award that APD probably posted on their own fucking Facebook.
And it shows her picture, her name right there.
Whose fault is that? Why are you posting your officers on Facebook? That's your own fucking fault. The same way investigators look at Instagrams of gangsters and people wearing fucking red and green on Instagram.
Yo, nobody is exempt from public, you know, public harassment. Nobody. The only people that are exempt typically are people that have the police at their, you know, at hand. Those are the people that can protect people from police public harassment. So I just think that at the end of the day, if you're going to put this man's life in jeopardy for a tweet, at least make it have, you know, two solid legs to stand on and not make it just be all weak. You know what I mean? But y'all let me know what y'all feel about this. Make sure y'all subscribe at the top bell. Make sure y'all shout out to Cuffle, man, for giving us this info. And I'll see you on the next one. I'm out of here.